Right, and welcome to Alchemy 101, guys. It's been a while since we've been able to do a video show in a while. It's been crazy 2020, but I'm exceptionally excited to have this gentleman on the show with me today. I met him at the Conscious Life Expo, and not to get too far ahead of myself of introducing this gentleman, but you guys know me on the show. I'm pretty energy tangible, and all the times I'm going to Conscious Life, I've met one other individual other than this gentleman that I felt anything at all. And this guy, I didn't even know that. I actually thought you were someone setting up for the guy because you just seem very chill and real humble. But the moment I passed him, I was just like, oh my, what is going on over here? There's some big, powerful, I don't know what, but I have to come talk with him. And so I have Mr. Aaron Pine on with me tonight on Alchemy 101. Welcome to the show, brother.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hello for having me here.
Yeah, man. Super exciting. We talked about this alchemy for archetypes and just perceiving the world through not the regular, I guess, humanoid version of how things are. It was a good idea. I just don't think humanity was really executed that well, and we've kind of chosen our divine path over this other version. And so I'm so excited to have you on the show because not only do I know your character just in the small time that we spoke, but I also was able to get some energy work done from you and experience that.
Yes.
And I'd love to talk about that on the show tonight. Jade's experience with you, but guys, this is a real. Like I say this wizard stuff all the time. This is a real wizard, energy healer, spectacular master in so many different things, man. So thank you again for being on the show.
Yes, that's awesome. And I want to duplicate this, right? So we're taking this magic show here, and I'm also putting it on my network, Ceremony, Meditation, and Magic on Amazon and Roku. So welcome to all those viewers jumping in here, and honored to be here with Brother Halo, who we connected at Conscious Life Expo, another brother wizard. And so we're excited to dive in together and bring our wizardly magic together.
Man. So for everyone on my show, where can they find you on social media and sites, all that good stuff?
Yeah. So my main website is Aaron, AARON, Michael Pine with a Y, PYNE.com, like the pine tree, Aaron Michael Pine. And then same thing, Aaron Michael Pine on Facebook and Instagram.
Awesome. Yeah. And I love the fact that you even have a wizardy name.
Yeah. I've like, as my wizardliness has, I'll say, evolved or increased or expressed, it's like my name is like, oh, my name makes even more sense. Oh, wait, my name makes even more sense.
Yeah. Is it so, again, part of like what we talk about on Alchemy 101 is just how everyone kind of goes through this transitional phase of coming into, which is now the trendy woke thing, but coming into like higher consciousness and recognizing who they really are within the little bio version they got right now, right?
Yeah.
So through your experience, like, is this something that you've been doing since you were really young? Did you have like a moment that caught you and threw you? Like what? Yeah. How did you get here, man?
In a way, it started when I was young. I was raised in Cincinnati, Ohio, was not around anything spiritual at all. But as a kid, I was actually drawing these geometric mandala designs in like first grade, second grade, third grade. Had no mental concept of what they were, but it was like these full geometric mandalas, and then got into drawing dragons and superheroes, as a young teenager, and then got into fantasy, and then eventually that led to spirituality, and then that led me doing visionary artwork and realizing like, oh, I've kind of been doing this all along. This was here as a kid. And these flashbacks came back like, oh, I've been doing this as a kid. So that's definitely always been there, and then it's definitely evolved and opened up through the years and deepened, and it's the deepening and a remembering, it's recalling of all that I am and what that means to be a wizard and what that means to be a wizard in the modern world that is not until more recently more accepting of wizards, I'd say. Now it's more of a cool thing. A few years ago it was still a little more on the fringe. Yeah.
Awesome.
Now we got Harry Potter out there. We got Gandalf. We got some things helping work the crowd and making it more acceptable for us.
Yeah, dude. The Magicians has been a huge one for a lot of people I know. Have you seen it yet or not? But phenomenal. They have handwork. They go into dimensional shifts, timelines, like every single version that, how I understand our multiverse to be. This is how they do it in real time, every single episode. And it's like it's like a combination of say like Harry Potter and Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but like a very adult version.
Oh, nice. I'm going to check that out. I was doing that.
Great, man. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like I've been doing Mystech for like a decade now. And even that being in a sciencey background, because it's so fringy, that was so difficult to talk about 10 years ago compared to now.
Right.
And I think that's how it is with spirituality. And like you said, being a wizard, right?
Yeah. Right.
Having all the fae folks around. And it's such an amazing space time to meet you and being at Conscious Life, because
Yeah.
there's so many like sprinkled versions of all these different archetypes that are all there. And,
Right.
and you see the ones that are wearing the costume, and you see the ones that are taking their costume off.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's it. Yeah. I'm like, all right, this is it. This is what you got over here. If you're ready for this, level of magic, then I'm here for you. Right?
Yeah. I love it. Now, I love that you use that word. There are some things that I don't ask some people on the show sometimes, because I know they have an understanding that's theirs, but in conversation, I don't know how much it meshes with the version I'm talking about. And I don't ever want to be the one to be the distraction or be distracted. So in the right space time, I figure it's a good time to talk about it.
Yeah.
And that never seems right until right now when you said this. So when you're talking about if you want this type of magic, right? Because we're in a time now where like the term wizard gets thrown around and it's cool and it's funny.
Right.
But when you say this, like magic is a very real, tangible, day-to-day, everyday thing, right?
Yes.
Okay, but on the flip side of that, you have all these people now that are also accepted as energy workers. So for everyone out there, I'm under a certain perception, but how do you see like a real difference other than the invisible line that they've kind of painted one with and the other? Or do you think there's a big difference between the two of magic and energy?
Right. So there's different layers to it. And, every person, depending on where they're at, their soul's evolution, what they're conscious of, what they're tapped into and connected with and integrated, is working with a different amount of layers. So one way to think of it is, right, like you have this beautiful garden, a beautiful landscape, and there's, some grassy areas, maybe a garden, you got some vines, you got some trees. And it's a matter of how complex you can go into this landscape. And, can you pull out these weeds over here? Oh, these vines over here, like these are overgrown. We need to go in there and restructure that. Oh, this tree, we need to trim some stuff. We need to like put these branches back up. Or are you just out there like watering and that's all you can do? So there's different layers and complexity there that you can go into. So the energy healing, right? That's one mode of running currents of electrical energy or life force through the person, right? Yeah. And so that's one layer. That's like the garden hose, right? Then there's these other layers that can begin to be accessed. And how I see it in my I'll say wizardly way is when I go into working with a person and my own self or somebody I'm helping, is I see a vast landscape beyond a garden. I mean, like the whole earth, basically, of landscapes available to a person, and see what landscapes or aspects or dimensions are ready to be rewoven back into their human consciousness, into their human framework, into their human heart, and be brought into this world. Wow. Most people are generally operating from, their human self and maybe a few other layers. Right. To some degree, right? So when I go in and people will come to me, right, they're challenged. Oh, I've got this physical ailment, I've got this emotional thing, I've got anxiety or depression. They're just looking for sort of a fix. And it's like, yeah, well, let's work on that and clear that. But what's underneath that are layers upon eons of dimensional connections that are just waiting to resurge back into you and integrate into the consciousness that you are and be brought forth into the human reality. And, I always go back to the tree of life. That's my foundation. And in the tree of life, in the Norse tree of life, Yggdrasil, right? You've got the human world in the center. Yes. That's wizards know Yggdrasil. Right? So this is the best example, right? So you got the human world, Midgard, in the middle. And then you've got on their tree, they've got like 9 other realms. I'm seeing hundreds of them, but they've got 9, right? But humanity in general has been isolated and sort of contained within and quarantined in a way within just this one world here. And you're actually, we're actually missing the life force, the consciousness, the wisdom, the interconnectedness of our multidimensional soul family that is in all these realms. And this affects our ability to run life force through us, our health, our vitality, our consciousness, our intuition, our creative gifts. So when I go in and do, I'll say my wizard work, right? It's reconnecting and opening up that full tree of life within the person and allowing so much to flow through them. And this is where, to me, this is real magic. That's why I said, if you're ready for this level of magic, how much are you ready to open for? And this is amazing and almost miraculous because the amount of change that it can produce within one's physical characteristics, body, health, well-being, and their emotional, mental states.
Mental states. Awesome. Mental states is huge, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like that because, all is mind, right? And so many texts, but just really getting the mind under control and not even necessarily control might be too strong a word, maybe more in alignment with our divine path that we know is always there.
Right.
Yeah. Like, dude, you remember the old school movie Unbreakable with Bruce Willis?
I heard the name,
he ends up being like a real life superhero,
right?
But he doesn't know it, and he's a security guard. And every morning he wakes up and feels like sick to his stomach, and he doesn't know why. And the first day he finally saves someone, he wakes up the next day with that missing, and he feels normal for the first time because he finally became in alignment with everything he's supposed to be doing, and he didn't know that that's why he was a security guard. This is why he did this, like all these other things. And I feel really strongly like a lot of us that go through these different shifts and downward spirals, the depressions, that's just us not being in alignment with this thing that we know is right there. But it's a friend or family member.
This one right there. Hey, we got a little spear bean jumping in. There he is.
You want to come say thank you?
Hey, brother. Hey, brother. Hey, oh, he's so cute.
Yeah. So this was a little dude that you were working on, and I asked my wife to bring him up because one of the things I want to touch on that you do within your practice and in your work is, I'm not gonna lie, I thought I was one of the only people that did this in real time. So when you did this to me at Conscious Life, you have no idea how much I was freaking out. You have no idea at all. And then so I want to make sure that you got to actually see him.
My gosh.
So he's doing great now.
Yeah, he's doing great. We tuned into him at the Conscious Life Expo. He was having a little challenge, and look at him. And so that was an amazing thing. So guys, I'm at Conscious Life. If you guys been watching the show, Zion got kind of sick really sick for a while. And I had just barely met Aaron, like that day or the day before, and very quick conversation, but the recognition of where we're both at in our space time right now. Right.
Right. And I'm telling you guys, he literally put his hand on my shoulder and was able to clairvoyantly project and see where my son was at and see the people that were with him, see the way he was breathing, and everything he was saying was completely accurate from when I'd spoken with my wife. And so this was this amazing biolocation that he was able to do, send some energy to him, heal them, all these things. And he's been doing these things for me from a distance for a while. And what's so funny is, everybody, I'll let you go. Sorry.
Bye, love, buddy.
Bye. Go kiss. Go twinkle eyes. Twinkle. All right. Love you, buddy.
See you later, buddy.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right. Thank you, baby.
He's amazing.
You guys are awesome. Thank you. The ability to be able to do that, right? And now when you do this, because there's a couple different versions when I do it, and I thought it was so funny that you had mentioned Bifrost. Also, we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
But so when you do this, and you're looking, are you just doing a visual thing, or are you having your energy body there in that space time that if you need to heal now, you're able to immediately start doing things?
It used to be more visual. I feel like it's more and more. I feel like I'm bridging dimensional spaces, right? Yeah. So how I see it, right, in our fullness, we're not separated by space or time. We're all of it united into one. And so as I come into that unification of all that I am, then I can, we'll say, move through the internet, just like an email or ping going out or a Facebook message or even a Zoom broadcast, right? I can bilocate or move my energy, my consciousness into another space and time. And been working on this in multiple ways lately. And it allows me that much deeper level of perception of what's happening. And then also to help, I'll say, shift the energy or clear things out in that field, in that space, wherever it's at. And, it's been beautiful to work with clients and to be able to do that with you, right? And just, where we need to go. And also my daughter, I've got a beautiful 8-year-old daughter that I'm often out of town from, right? And so we do a lot of Skyping and that sort of thing to stay connected. But I've taught her, right, these methods of connecting over the rainbow bridge of the Bifrost so that we can have that energetic connection no matter where we're at and build that up for her so she has that strong foundation with her as she grows older to connect with me and whatever else she ends up doing in the world, right? So it's the Bifrost is the rainbow bridge that Odin travels upon as he goes in different journeys, right, in the Norse mythology. And it's an energetic spectrum of light. And so it's passing across the light bridge between where we're at and where we are intending to go.
Yeah.
And as we're evolving, the energy shifting, it's becoming easier and easier to open up those portals between anywhere.
Yeah, and we're in this like big dimensional collapse right now. All these parallels are just boom, 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 boom. And I think because of that, it's making that fabric so thin that more of us are being able to actually do it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how long you've been doing this, but if you are crossing into these other realms, like we talk about this on the show a lot, so this would be a very fun question.
Yeah.
Like I'm 39 solar years around, but my birthday cake last year had 183 candles on it. I mean, so when you're doing your traveling and your studies and everything, because just talking with you and seeing how you work, and actually I have that picture of Jade pulled up. If you're cool with that, I'm gonna share in a second. I'd love them to be able to see this.
Yeah.
I've worked and had work on me from healers all around the world. Every different type of modality out there that felt benevolent and real healing to me. Yeah. I've never had an experience like I had with what you did. So and this is why I asked this like age thing and your time journeying between the realms and everything. Like how much of what you know is like innate or came as a download or something that you just picked up along the way that just seemed to work?
Yeah, I'll say 60 to 70% of what I do came from within. 30% from external studies or teachers, and I feel like those sort of gave a bit of a framework or enough of a clue or enough of even just confidence in a way, right? That to trust and then develop those inner access points. So the healing, the multidimensional stuff, my artwork, right? So much comes through, and I've learned to just trust that.
Do you mind when you talk about your artwork?
Yeah.
So I don't have yours specifically picked out, but this is again such a synchronistic moment, dude. I'm telling you, man. Like I'm very excited for what we do.
Yes.
So I've been using the Shadowscape tarot set for the longest time, and there's like a card we'll get into it off screen that literally was me 100,000%. Like every single part of every single detail and the way that it was told for me to draw like freaked me out. Right?
Nice. Yeah.
But I had some other people working with it, and it just got to a place where I wasn't comfortable using that set anymore. And I had gone through 3 different sets, and they're like all right here, and none of them like resonated by the time I got to them. And so guys, as he's talking about being an artist and everything, come to find out when I go down and talk with him and everything, he ends up blessing me with this like amazing oracle deck. And just some of the most incredible. I don't want to look because I like to be surprised. But I'm telling you guys, like just some of the most amazing art, like powerful stuff. I'm not seeing which is which, so.
No, some of them are upside down, some are not, but
they're shuffled. But so I've been using these almost every day since I got back, and it's interesting because the times that we've spoken has almost been always in a mentoring and sharing type style. And every time that I pull these cards, I feel like I'm having a conversation with you without having a conversation. It's really, really interesting. So
that's one of my methods of bilocating is that oracle deck.
I was just about to ask that. Since we're talking about actual magic and not just the energy portion, like with all the mystic stuff, I go through my own little like blessing and intent and everything before we send it out, just under the impression that that's going to make the healing that much more.
Right. Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me that you would say that that's something you do, knowing that that's a thing, and you can, anyone that's out there that tangibly has that energy feeling, you can detect the stuff and feel it.
Yeah.
And so I think, and this is why I asked you this question about how much you learned was innate. I think there's so many people coming from the educational system and the religious system, and just how our society is very groomed to be on board with what everyone else says works, instead of really going in and discovering your inner wizard, your inner elf, your inner dragon,
there aren't too many wizard schools here right now. Yes.
Yeah. So I at what point did it become like something that you decided you could do as a career?
Oh gosh. Well, I'll say met my first kind of spiritual mentors around 17, 18. And at the same time, I started going to school for computer network engineer, and was kind of going between these two very different worlds of computer tech, right? And opening up to these other dimensions. And it's funny enough, I don't know, I think she popped on here. I don't know if she's still here. My mom, starting to get into this stuff, and she happened to call around some places in the little, suburban town I was in to see if I could make a career out of being some kind of healer or something. And she happened to call this lady who was a hypnotherapist and said, my son's, doing this Reiki thing and this healing. And is that, something? And the lady was like, oh yeah, I've heard people starting to do this. This was, 18 years ago. And she got off the phone. The lady had taken my name and number, threw the paper away. She was intuitive. And then she was like, wait, no, I think I need to call him. And she called me and she was like, why don't you come down here and let me, see what you're doing. And so I was like, sure, went down, gave her a healing session. And she was like, that was great. Like, if you want to use my space for sessions, go for it. This was 18 years old. I was like, okay, great. So that began that process and started having clients. And then my artwork started coming through at that point, and, just putting that out there and the healing. And then it wasn't, within the next few years, started teaching, started doing some festivals. This was in Ohio, they have a smaller version of Conscious Life Expo there, basically. And so started a booth, started doing healing work, and, it's just been full on since then.
Dude,
yeah.
That's amazing. Now, have you, most of us that are in this lifestyle, I guess
right, yeah.
do you have a hard time struggling with the balancing the both, or are you just all the way engaged so much in where your universe is and how everything works that you just kind of are able to shrug it off?
Yeah, I've been that bridge. I feel like that's been a big gift because I've also, within this process, have done web design for a lot of spiritual businesses, conscious people that are bringing, similar things through, and helping them to take these, kind of more abstract things and how do they format it into the business world. And so, yeah, I mean, being in the normal world has definitely been a challenge, right? And navigating that, but also learning like this is where this stuff needs to be brought. It needs to be structured in a way that it can penetrate out into the normal world, because there are people just like us that are lost in that and hungry for this, but don't even know it. And so finding ways to repackage, purpose, vitalize this, bring it in, stealth mission, Trojan horse, whatever you want to say, to get it in there so people can bear witness to it. And this remembrance can be invoked within them, within their soul. And then that light can be reignited and brought up. So it's so important. I've seen, it's definitely fun, right? To just like, all right, I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm going to go live off the grid in the forest. I've definitely had that like times where I'm like, all right, I'm done. But I'm like, no, like I'm here for a reason. I gotta, do my part of this process here and my work here and find ways to bring this to the world. So that's always been a deep driving force for me.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. So real quick before I miss it, John Rocca asked if do you see your work in your mind's eye as a tree that you're manipulating? Is that kind of how you see it? Oh
yeah. So that's the way. Yeah. So when I'm say doing energy work, right, on somebody or my wizard's work, one way of seeing it is if you've ever played with Photoshop, which is where I do my artwork. It's layers, and my artworks, some of them have hundreds of layers, and I can go in and like sort of zoom in, move in and out of different layers, and I get drawn in. Okay, there's something here in this layer I need to delete. Something here in this layer I need to restructure something in this layer. Like we're done with this one, right? So it's like that. Filter. Yeah, this one needs a filter. We got to brighten the color here a little bit. We need a little more contrast. So that's sort of one mechanism of how it works, and it's sort of almost sci-fi holographic like in my mind's eye. And I'll see information, I'll see stories, I'll see traumas, I'll see experiences from this life and other dimensions interwoven in that tapestry. And simultaneously, it is very tree-like, because within the body, you have this tree system, this energy, you have the nervous system, and then these branches and roots, reaching out into the other worlds. And so, another way of it is that where I mentioned all those worlds, right? It's like branches or roots have been broken or snapped, or there's things cutting off the circulation of life force in those channels. And so we go in there, and it's, whether it's not really pruning, we're not cutting things off, we're sort of reconstructing that tree back into its full glory, its full regalness, its full power, so that its branches are powerful and raised up, and those roots are deep and anchored and solid. And that restores the whole tree matrix, the whole tree form within the individual. And then, like I said, that's just like a tree, right? If it's got all of its branches, it's drawing down all the sunlight it needs, it's producing, can produce all the carbon and the oxygen. And the roots going deep can bring up all the nutrients in the water. And that's what we want. We get that full, active, alive tree. Yeah.
I love it, dude. I love it. So look, so you just, in this, dude, I'm telling you, Guys, real wizard. It's a rarity for me. I'm telling you. I'm so excited.
Love it.
So this is when you're talking about these layers, right?
Yeah.
And you know, we hear the as above, as below, forever and ever. But I think that consideration has to be put into the physical and energetic sense as well, right?
Yeah.
So what I like about how you do your work and even how you explain it is when we look at the physical body, this is such a weird thing to me because we're around energy healers all the time. And I've heard not every version, but so many versions of the energy body and your energy field. But it always seems like kind of one-sided or very like just a silhouette with the energy around it, right? Yeah. But if you look at your physical body, you've got your musculatory system, your skeletal system, your nervous system, your endocrine system, like you have all these physical systems, but not many people talk about in energetic healing the multiple systems of what you have from your multiple chakras, not just the 7, to your energy meridians, to your Merkaba, to your toroidal field, to so many different versions of that spectrum. Yeah. And I think it's important that you mentioned the Bifrost being that rainbow bridge in its ability to get anywhere because it is full spectrum. And we're in this light matrix of a universe. So if you need to be able to go somewhere, you literally need something that has the entire spectrum, not just the version that our eyes can see, and the version our eyes can hear. And so I think it's weird that we have this consideration that certain people can't see the color green, or we can't hear certain tones that dogs can hear. But just because you can see an energy field and I can't, there's no way that's real.
Right.
Like that's an interesting consideration.
Yeah, I think it's a level of perception, ability to perceive and expand your awareness, and also a level of what's the clarity within you, right? So most people are sort of walking around with, we'll say, dirty glasses, and so they can only see little bits and stuff of how much has been integrated and open and understood and cleansed and purified, because there are so many layers. You know, the energy systems are as complex and ultimately even more complex than the physical body, as magnificent and complex as the physical body is. And yet for most people, there's so much trauma and distortion. And like I was talking about all the layers, right? We got to clear all this stuff out. That's all in there. And that affects how much any given individual is able to perceive or allow themselves to perceive within themselves. So, you know, as I've continued my own process, my own healing process and clearing and integration, that's allowed me to expand my visual spectrum of what I can access, within myself or for somebody else. So I'm my primary client in a way, right? How much can I open up? And that allows me to then see that much more for others. And so, it is, there's so many layers that continue to expand. And, ultimately we are an entire universe. And how complex is this external universe that is also within us?
Oh, dude. Yeah.
So
and you got all these co-creators along with us. And and I like that you said this glasses thing. Did we talk about the lens thing I'm working on?
No.
So I was in like this actually right after I'd met you that night when I was actually at Conscious Life is when I saw this visual. And I was in the room and I had this like kind of metaphorical visualization of lenses, right? And so when you're talking about people have these glasses on and they're dirty, they can't see that much, right?
Right.
Well, if you have the one lens that's there and you never go to another part of the world or you don't go for certain experiences, that lens or the lenses you have are still very small. There's not enough for you to know. I know you said you travel a lot. I know you just got back from New Zealand. Yeah. So I feel like every time that someone has an experience, they're literally acquiring a new lens. And here's what's really funny about this. This is how the visual came to me. Is this mental part was there, but the visual I got was like that old school alchemist that's like looking at a book with like glasses upon glasses upon glasses. And all those were actually metaphorical lenses. They weren't just like different gems. But they're like, if you go to the vortexes of Sedona, there are certain energy meridians in your body and certain synapses that will just be released. Right. But if you don't go there, it's not a really easy task to acquire that lens another way. Yeah. So this is, and this is what I want to get to with what you're doing. Do you teach any of this stuff? Or you just talk on shows? And when you do that, how much stuff do you learn for the first time while you're teaching it?
Good question.
Right? Because it happens, right?
Yeah, it does happen. It does happen for sure. So right now my main, I'll say, method of teaching is one-on-one sessions. I do have some group stuff here and there. And I'm working on a new platform that will hopefully be launched here in June, July, to reach out to a whole larger capacity for more people in a whole new gamified format. So it's still a little bit of a secret, but that is coming. Super excited for that. but yeah, in that teaching process, yeah, definitely, every person I work with has different questions and things come up. And usually, sometimes it's like, okay, yeah, I've got this, I already know this, but there are like questions that come up, and, I'm constantly listening into these other dimensions and receiving forms of information from them to help this individual person. So often there is new information or a new angle or a new aspect that does come through. I'm it's not just me, Aaron Michael Pine, the human
Right.
that you're working with here. I am opening up this greater field, and there's a whole school around me of teacher beings that are then flowing into this, classroom between myself and whoever I'm working with, whether it's one person or a group. And they're providing the support and the information and the understanding and the codes and the lenses that are needed for that, individual's expansion. And I get, a blessing of possibly learning things as well during that process, which is always a win-win, fun, extra bonus, right? So that's a bigger scape. And that's the what's exciting to me is that's the possibility for humanity, right? Humanity's been, for the last, couple thousand years, is basically, okay, we just have to figure this stuff out for ourselves, particularly in the Western modern mind. And yeah, it's important to figure things out ourselves. And there are massive levels of support just sitting here, just waiting to we want to help you humans. They're just like right there. So if we can allow ourselves to just like, all right, let go of a bit of control here and open up and listen more deeply, so much can start to pour in, whether it's you working on your own self and your own life path, or you're working on some larger projects or creations in the world. There's so much support here available to us. It's like we have this humongous, enormous family at the call of our own consciousness that's just waiting for us to make that call and like, hey, we need some help here. How do we do these things? Yeah.
Oh man, that was like, I don't know that you could have answered that better if I wrote it down and sent it to you. That was, man. And so if you guys are just joining Alchemy 101 right now, I'm with Mr. Aaron Pine, amazing healer, wizard, soul traveler, like amazing, just incredible individual. And as we're going over these things, man, and the reason I ask about this teaching thing is I think for me, my own practice and my own ability, my field, everything accelerated, like I want to say almost 20, 30 times more the moment I started teaching. And some of the stuff wasn't stuff that I was necessarily comfortable teaching, but people had questions and I had a pretty good version, I thought. So I felt like, all right, I'll talk about it. And then exactly how you said, next thing I know, I'm talking about stuff that I don't know that how I know this, but then when I go and look it up, it's right there. And so when you're going through your coaching, is there, not to give away all your secrets or anything, but is there any one thing that you would say is probably the biggest routine to either stop doing or to implement to help you get more in tune with who you are?
Yeah. So a big key I find for just about everyone, and this is always a foundational level, is our ability to root and ground deeply into the earth. So many people, right, are stressed, overwhelmed, fear, trauma, anxiety, all this stuff that has disconnected us from our ability to root for our spirit and our body to root into the earth. And it's been perpetuated by our modern civilization, and we're inside and we're away from nature and the natural rhythms. And so it's like that tree again that's been pulled up out of the earth. Our system needs to be rooted deep down into the earth. That allows our spirituality, our essence, our gifts, our consciousness to come in the body. And as we were talking about before, it allows the mind to start to calm down, right? If our system is jacked up and ungrounded, the mind is going in active stress mode. Once the system is grounded and rooted deeply, the whole body, the whole system can calm down. The emotions can move through us more easily. Whatever we're processing can move through us more easily. And we feel more supported in who we are. We feel more embraced in who we are. And that allows the gifts of our consciousness to start to flow through. So that's always so much a fundamental piece for so many people, is just to like, first off, let's just get you grounded so that you can open up and breathe, because most people are like this.
Oh
right?
yeah,
Just,
yeah.
yeah, like a tree. I look around like, oh my God, what did I do?
Yeah, yeah.
So we just first let's get you grounded, right? Calm the system down, and that allows the divine forces within you and the divine dimensions that you're connected to start to pour back into this world, and open up and expand yourself from that point. And that allows the intuition, the energy, the consciousness, the clarity, the magic to start flowing through just so much more powerfully, gracefully.
Yeah. Oh man, I love it. Okay, so I want to pull this this picture up really quick because I want people to kind of see what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so this is just what I've got on my Instagram. But so after he worked on me, let me kind of pretext this really quick. So while you were working on me, I was seeing multiple visuals that usually when people are working on me, I don't really see a whole lot. I feel a lot of stuff shift. Most of my visuals are during like deep meditation, astral projecting, and it's very tunnel or movie, very, very first person.
Yeah.
Right. But when you were working on me, it was more like a flash of one of those old school little like, but then it would switch to that and it would play for a little while and it would go to something else. And so he didn't know this at the beginning, but when he was working on me, part of what I'm trying to figure out is like things for my new logo, things of a you know, what's part of keeping me disconnected from whatever the next big step is. And going in, all the things that you told me were actually all the things that I was seeing through this experience of what you're working on me anyway.
Right. Yep.
so it was very interesting to be able to hear you talk about it, but that you were talking about something that I just experienced that we hadn't actually talked about.
Yep.
And that to me, that's how I knew it was like very, very real. So because of that, I was like, dude, I need you to work on Jade. And Jade is usually very like timid to have anyone work on him other than me or and barely me for that.
Right.
So when I was explaining this to him, and when you guys see this picture here in a second, so I don't know how much you're okay with me talking about what my experience was, but
go for it, yeah.
So I'm laying on this little like cot thing, right? Which I think is brilliant, by the way, because it's so much better than massage table because you can actually get under and feel the person.
Yeah, it was
so
great.
I'm telling you, that all by itself to me was just like such a new level of things I'd never experienced of all the places I've been, like, and such a simple switch, but amazing. Yeah. And then next thing I know, I can feel like your fingers literally like all over the place, just tapping in different areas. That I can only assume you're just filling out different energy meridians and different spots of what was connected, what was not, and just kind of feeling out the circuit board.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
And then next thing I know, I feel like this big gust of wind come by me, and then there's like a flute, and then I'm smelling incense, and I'm like, how many people did he just transform into right now to do all these things? So
yeah, there's like 50 to 100 of me.
Dude, yeah, really. Yes, I'm telling you guys. So when you see this photo, I'm going to show you guys. He's working on Jade. He's got the amazing wizard hat on, and what you're seeing is, I promise you, you're only seeing one spectrum of about 50 to 100 things that are happening right now because he was never this still a single time. It was amazing, dude. I'm telling you. And even when I was done, like, what was like? I'm like, it's unlike anything I've ever experienced. And the things I saw, the things that I felt, the shifts, like just all of it was just, it was like being in some type of ballet or play and not knowing like you're just the rock that everyone's dancing around and all the amazing things are just happening that you didn't even know were going to happen. You're like, I just thought I was going to see this one thing. You mean there's all this happening right now?
Yep.
And so it was just an exceptional like thing to do. So I need you guys to know when you see this, this is just one thing of a bunch of things that are happening.
Quick still shot.
One quick little still shot. So let me pull this up real quick. And for those of you guys on Artists First, you guys will have to go to Alchemy 101 on YouTube or come catch the video on Facebook. Here. Let's get this going. And are we there yet?
Let's see. I see the screen shifting.
Yep. It always takes a second. You ever pull up the wrong screen?
It happens.
I've never been so unfortunate, but I hear it's terrible.
Depends if it's on the other screen.
Yeah. All right, so here, I think we're gonna get it. Maybe. Well, guys, so see this thing right here? It's so fast, you can't even see it.
Right. Just my shadows moving around.
Dude, you know what? I'm glad you said that. That'll be another really good question. The shadow work is
definitely important. Very important.
Are we not getting this here?
No, I'm not seeing anything over here.
All right, I'm gonna try one other thing. Hold on, maybe it won't let me share it because it's Instagram. That's all right. I got you. That's all right. We'll do a remix. But while we're doing this, so shadow work.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of people that want to have this super metaphysical ability. They want to have clairvoyance, telepathy,
Hmm.
traversing the realms. But I don't know about you. I would say the shadow work almost killed me, and probably did a bunch of times before I came out on the other understanding how important those shadows were.
Yeah.
With what you do, is that like a big
That's a big
part of
piece.
the process as
That's a
well?
big piece. Yeah. Yeah. That's in a way, right, a whole nother spectrum of what needs to be looked at, addressed, and ultimately reintegrated through love. And there's multiple right angles to look at this shadow and manage this. I don't say manage shadow, connect with the shadow and understand the shadow. And there's many different perceptions around that shadow. And the shadow is really other aspects of ourself that have been traumatized and feared in some form or fashion, in some dimension or life incarnation, and are actually integral parts of who we are.
Yeah.
And our general modern society perception is to suppress those shadows. That's to suppress them, deny them, ignore them. And that actually just allows them to run more rampant and unconsciously control us and affect how we show up and to the capacity we can show up. It's almost like, if you've got a 10 horsepower or 10 cylinder car, and you're like, well, 5 of those cylinders aren't any good, I'm just going to not use those, and you're running at half your capacity.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, those 5 have a different energy to them, a different makeup, a different composition, yet they're important, crucial part of the wholeness that you actually are. Same thing as like, it would be as like, I can accept the sunlight in daytime, but I can't accept night in the moon.
Right.
We need the whole spectrum. We need the whole rhythm and the changing between those two to find our full balance. And so when we can go into those shadows, into the darkness, and there is, like I said, there's often trauma there, and pain and fear, and those are the binds, those are the chains that keep those shadows locked down. And imagine we've seen all kinds of movies, and it's in the Norse mythology, right, of the monster that gets bound and chained, and it just becomes more fierce and more angry and out of control. And right, so we have to go in there and experience those feelings to some degree. And I felt them myself, my own shadows. And I think we're blessed that we don't have to feel the full extent. We have to feel, I feel like a sample of enough just to like let it kind of start to move and open up and release and break those bonds. And then we can reconnect with that aspect of ourselves. We can bring that energy in, and it's there. It's not running the show from a hidden point and an unconscious point. It's now integrated into the whole landscape that we are, like we talked about earlier. And so it's just another branch or another root of who we are, and we can allow those shadows to come in and be okay with them, and be okay when they come up, whether it's you realize it, or maybe your partner realizes it, or somebody else, like, hey, what's this going on here? And you're like, oh yeah, you're right. Okay, let me look at this, let me feel this, let me receive this actually back into myself.
Yeah.
And that opens up so much magic, so much potential within you.
Yeah. No, is it something that you're a fan of? Because I know everyone kind of has their own approach to this. Do you believe in like finding it, acknowledging it, and then moving on, or finding it, acknowledging it, and like really integrating with it?
Really integrating it, because as I was saying, there is a level of your power and your capacity and your energy there. And when you integrate it, you become more masterful of it all, right? If you just acknowledge it, but let it go, you're still, like you said, it's like you're missing the cylinder. Versus being like, okay, let me bring the cylinder back into my engine here and make use of it in a proper way. And as you bring it in, you're connecting more with your heart, and your heart's intelligence and your soul's intelligence and that divine essence purpose. And I feel more than ever, because of what's going on in the world, we need our full capacity online and integrated and aligned with our heart. So it's like, okay, I've got these shadows, let me bring them in here, because I need the full party. I need the whole spectrum here.
And so you agree, like the intent behind what you're channeling is way more important than what it is that you're channeling. Is that a pretty fair? That's my approach to it. Like, they say you can't be more light in light, you be more light in dark. So the darker places of yourself that you can get into the brighter places that you can find as well. Like that contrast is always going to be there.
Yeah.
And I think really similar to like some of the emotions, like acknowledging them, experiencing them, but not operating from them. That seems to be like this new thing that I entered, at least for me, a few months ago, that a lot of people have been talking to me about. That it's not just shutting the emotion down or just going, all right, and fine, I'll forget about it, but like really letting the entire emotion hit you without it being from like the content that brought the emotion there, and just being in that anger, being in that fear sometimes, whatever it is, being in that sadness and letting that process. And it's so crazy because going through what I just went through with Zion, terrifying stuff, man. Coming through it on the other end, I feel like so renewed and so relieved and so everything. Like life has this a new lens to it. It has this new spectrum that wasn't there before because this fear that I had to experience that was real, but I did my best not to operate from it other than, okay, what's the real cause and effect here? And what's the real part that my mind's not creating for me? And as soon as I did that, it got less scary really fast. And then as I started talking with you and showing you like, yes, I made like an energy diagram with little runes and sigils and a whole alchemy circle, right?
I love
and it was, I'm telling you, the moment I sent it to you and you're like, dude, I recognize some of those things. I was like, of course he does. Of course he does. But those things came from like being so afraid of the unknown that any version that could be a possible known was worth doing at this point. You know what I mean? And so I think if a lot of us can get to facing the trauma, right? And but recognizing that if you can face it, it means you got through it. And I think that's a big thing is people forget that you've overcome these things. You know what I mean? If you're in a car accident and you live, you don't ever not get in a car again. I mean, some people might, but usually you don't. You get back in the car again and go, all right, well, I made that version. Now next time I know not to do A, B, and C, and hopefully there's not another accident, but you got through this one. And so man, I don't know if it's just the shows that are out or how people talk, but what is it that has our value system so skewed from what's really scary to what's not really scary? Like, you know what I mean? It's an interesting thing that I think this will be a big year for a lot of energetics and people trying to break down that barrier for real, because there's a lot of confusion still within a lot of aspects of people's growth right now, and I think that's a big part that's stunning that tree.
Yeah, for sure. And that's like half the tree. I mean, it's really eons of suppression and denial and trauma and fear that's cut off those darker aspects. And these can be multiple things. They can be anger, they can be sadness, they can be grief, those emotional levels. And they for me, and some of my personal experience, it was my ability to access my magic, right? Because modern society, modern world, there's so much suppression, and that's weird or that's evil, that magic can't be accessed.
Right.
And there's layers of misusing that magic, right? So for me, it was a process of unraveling all that and re-embracing that magic, and now bringing it in balance with, we'll say, the light or all of myself unified in my heart. And that opens up, like I said, so much more magic. And so people are struggling with these other components. And there's also aspects of the feminine, the divine feminine, and the magic and the creative forces of feminine energy that have been suppressed. So that's another, say, layer around these shadows, and people wanting to open that up. And then there is fear and pain there. So it's not everyone, say, has the courage or the wisdom or the awareness of how to navigate that pain and that suffering, and to allow themselves to feel that. And that's a big thing, is how much can we feel? And modern society is, you don't feel much. And when you open up to all that you are, there's a lot to feel.
There's
a lot to feel. And not everyone in modern day society is prepared or has the capacity yet to allow themselves to feel that much. And like you said, the more you can feel, whether it's the pain and the anger and the grief, and hold a space for all that, the more also the love and the joy and the light and excitement you can feel, right? It's a full spectrum. It's the full Bifrost. It's the full range of emotions that are actually energetic context or energetic information. And when you can open up your space, your heart, to feel all that, then there's so much more available to you now. You're not just operating from this limited, okay, I can only sort of feel a little happy. I can only sort of feel a little angry, or maybe I have these like, I don't feel angry enough. And then all of a sudden I have this outburst of anger and then I don't know what to do. And I try to express it, or I drink or whatnot, and I get all confused, right?
Yep.
No, can we open up and feel like, yeah, this is really making me angry. And at the same time, I can expand into, okay, how can I channel this anger into a positive fire and fuel to create change in my life? And that was a big piece for me. Is I've never been an angry person. I've always been very gentle. And so that anger has always been very deep underneath the surface, and it always took a lot for me to feel angry. I saw my dad when he was younger, had some anger, like outbursts, and he had some heart issues, and then he calmed down. And so that was there, like, oh, okay, if I even try to release this, that's probably not going to go good. And now, as I've gone through my own process, it's like, okay, I can feel this anger when I see things that are out of alignment in myself or in the world around me, and allow this anger, and it's like a dragon, to rise up through me and empower me and give me the clarity, the focus, the precision to drive forward into the world and penetrate into the world with transformational energy. And that's driving my whole capacity into the world versus just operating from one spectrum of my emotional body. I'm ready to have it all and feel it all. And from that level, I can create a wider dynamic of also joy and happiness and connection and excitement in my life. Again, it's all full cylinders, or like active, like, right, and going. And that's that's opening up our full capacity, our capability.
And something you said, we've got about 10 minutes left, but I have one of the quick little boom, boom, boom things we'll do at the end. I want to ask you, but part of what you were just talking about, like with getting comfortable with these things for you, because again, this is like a trendy thing now, this, being isolated. For you, did you find like dealing with your emotions were better for you by yourself, or was it better for you with someone? Because most of the people I coach, and I don't know what it is that we're just humans are doing this to each other right now. But again, the moment you open up about an emotion, a feeling, something you're not sure about, a lot of times your friends, your family, even your significant other, it's introduced as an attack. So it makes it difficult to process these things in an outward manner. And the people that don't want to be by themselves don't know how to do it by themselves. So for you, I'm just curious, like everyone's, journey is different. Was yours more alone, or did you have friends and family that made it easier to go with this?
I'll say probably more on the alone side, more often than not. And there were like a few people here and there through my life that I felt safe and felt could handle and go there with me and hold that container. And but yeah, in general, because of the depth and breadth I've gone, that I haven't had too many people in the past around me that I felt could fully handle that and go there all the way with me. So, and I feel like I sort of had to pioneer some of this myself and explore it and then learn from it and then, research on it and that sort of thing to try and kind of puzzle it together. And then, doing healings and teaching and stuff, I get more clarity on it as well. But it definitely, if you can find people that you feel safe with, that's, on this journey, and I think it's becoming easier and easier for that, more people are diving into this stuff, then it's definitely a beautiful, helpful thing. And there's a, balance there, right? Some of this you have to do by yourself, and some of this is helpful to have those other people that can at least hold space for you. If they can remain a neutral space, neutral loving space, so that you can move through this and explore it.
Oh, thank you, man. And so for everyone that's out there listening, there's like this is why I'm perfectly worded, man. I got to have you on the show a bunch more.
Let's do it more. Yeah, love it.
So and this is the thing, because when we're like us, our energetics, our wisdom, whatever term that they're going to start calling us sometimes, as the magic users, whatever.
Right.
I think it was amazing that the literally moments of eye contact that we had, the moment of recognition was powerful enough that we both recognized we need to have a conversation. Yeah. And I think the exact opposite happens in a lot of times, because what we do and what we're into is so the norm. Right. That we don't know how far down the rabbit hole this other person I just connected with is. And instead of doing that olive branch and reaching out, we just kind of like, man, they're probably into some weird shit. And then that's it.
Yeah.
But just as you expressed right now, guys, that's why I want you to come on the show and be able to do this. Like the moment we had that recognition, it was just a deep dive right off the bat.
Right.
Like we've
That's
already done
good.
this a billion times.
Right.
I know he's gonna be in this little slice of the cosmos this time of year. It's good to see you
Right.
again.
Yeah, good to see you out here. These
But
parts.
so I was like on the show to like make these challenges because a lot of us like we talk about these things, we read these things, we go through them, but then once we're out of that flow state, like we forget and we go back into these other just regular mundane
Routines.
zombified version of just not making that real impact and that real connection.
Yeah.
And so guys, I'm telling you, we've talked like probably being honest, we probably talked less than an hour aside from the show now.
Yeah.
But I'm very comfortable with saying like I feel like I've known you forever, my whole life.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
we talk about anything.
Right. Anyway. Right.
But if we didn't have that like open acceptance of just having that first conversation, like you'd be missing out, and we'd all be missing out on all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's such a huge factor of what we're doing in our wizarding, in our magic, in our alchemy, is making sure that these exchanges actually happen. Because a lot of us we're guarding everything because we're scared what's going to happen when we hibernate, so we don't want to exchange anything.
Right.
Like they might,
right.
But that's where the magic is. Like
that's where magic. That's where a lot of the old fear is, right? And the safety and the pain is like, oh, I need to keep more isolated, and we actually need to do the opposite. We actually need to build these connections, this integration, and share more of this, and create open spaces and community around this, so that exponentially helps us all evolve. Oh, there's the picture. There I am.
Oh, I lost you there. Yep. Sorry.
Came up and went. Yeah, that's all right.
You should begin. Weird.
That was a quick glimpse.
Yeah, it's all good. All good.
Yeah. So I love that we got to connect and build this open this bridge between us, and that is becoming, I feel like, more and more available. More and more people are like opening up and realizing, I need to connect and share and figure out what's going on here.
I had it up for 1 second. I had the picture. You guys saw it for a flash.
Yeah.
Sorry, so I was still trying to get that.
That was immediate.
But if you guys go to look up Halo Marquise on Instagram, and you'll scroll down, it's this amazing photo. I'll post it on Facebook and on our channel. I'm going to get you onto the Mystech site somehow as an affiliate or someone that we can direct people to.
Yeah, I love it.
I love what you do, man. I'm really excited and honored to have met you. We got 2 minutes left. This is what I wanted to ask you really quick. So as you're living this elven wizard lifestyle, elven sorcerer, if there were 3 to 5 things that you would say are different about what your normal day-to-day is versus what you remember the human version was, or what most people do, like what would be like just considerations or diet or routine or an exercise or just any of the things that that are just different for regular people, but it's something that has changed a ton of things, and they're so simple for a lot of them. It might be come up with, but
nature is key. As much nature time as I can get any day is very powerful for me. Taking the time to connect with these other realms every day and throughout the day as much as I can. And so I'm not operating just from my human consciousness. I'm operating from a bigger multidimensional scale, and listening from that is super important. So much, like you said, we just kind of go in this habit mode or the mundane, and it's like, every morning, right, I take some time to stop and, all right, let me open up the whole field here, the whole team. Come on in here. Like, I'm not doing this alone.
Yeah.
Like bring in the crew here. So that's super empowering and powerful, and be able to listen to them as things come up, whether it's challenges or whatever, that I'm tuning into that. Movement is super important. It's super important for me. I am on the computer a lot. So I know that kind of starts to sort of close my energy down. So I know, like I've learned, I have to take time to move and freeform move and just and that gets the energy running. And 5-10 minutes of that, I throw in some of my favorite music, some of my Elven magic music, and then I'm like back in the game, like, all right, let's do this again, right? So I'm just like, all right, that's key for me, is to get that moving and let those life force energies move through this human biosuit and get it fully active and charged up as much as possible, versus just being in this like depressed mode all the time. So those keep, and then finding ways to bring magic into my life. You know, one thing I got your awesome bracelet here with magic stuff. You know, I got this ring here, this dragon bracelet, you know, so I was clued in a while ago for me to incorporate as much of these things that are magical to me in my living space, on me, around me, because that just kind of helps me shift into hold that state, you know, some crystals, whatever it is for you, and to take time to have that in your space and around you, to help you shift out what's magical to you. You know, maybe different to you than me and whoever's listening, but find what is magical, what is inspiring, what is mystical, because so much of modern society is like we're in these boxes and things have to be kind of boring and these dull colors and, you know, like that. Right? So how can we find ways to start incorporating things that are magical, inspiring, and connect us with the mystery in our day-to-day life? Yeah.
Yeah, is that a fair statement? Just kind of ritualize everything?
Yeah, ritualize everything. Yeah. No, whether, you know, making my tea in the morning, I bless that, you know, do a process around that. I got my computer on, like earlier today, I did some recordings of my new project, made a bunch of audio recordings. Yeah, I set up the computer, the mic, and then I've got full crystal spread, candle, incense, feathers. Like this is a magic transmission here. I got to set it up that way. I can't just have a microphone on like a regular desk. That's kind of lame and boring, right? That's not going to be like my magic form, right?
No, that's perfect. I love it. Like, guys, you don't even know this. Like, as we're setting up, right, and we're talking everything, he was like, "Yo, let me get some candles going. We need some magic right here."
Let me get these.
It's important, man. It's important. Like, and you saw how I was dressed in Conscious Life. I saw how you were dressed. Like. Right. We dress the part, like dress the archetype, embrace the whole version of it, and your life will change and mold in ways that you can't even fathom. So fast.
Get this. I just decided this morning. So for my new project, because of some videos and stuff I'm gonna make, and it's funny, we're talking about the wizard thing. I ordered this awesome, beautiful black like cloak with this beautiful like silver clasp and this hood and everything, like full on, you know, magic. I'm like. And so I'm going back to New Zealand here in a few days, and you know I want to take it with me for this. And it's, you know, it's wool, it's thick. I'm like, this is gonna take a lot of room in my suitcase. I was like, do I just wear this through the airport?
Please, please send pictures.
I think I would have to. If anyone asks, like, what, you've never seen a wizard before? What? Yeah. Maybe I'll get some new fans out of it. I don't know. We'll see what
you definitely will. I'm telling you, I tell us on the show, I tell us a lot. I have a black leather wizard hat that this couple made for me at a Renaissance fair, and I'll wear it to go like grocery shopping or go to get coffee. And people get so weirded out. It's just a hat. But it's funny to watch like the muggles squirm. They're like, I don't know what that is. Like,
It'll be fun to wear this through the airport, and then going to be layover in Chicago and walking through Chicago airport. Yeah, it's gonna be great. It'll be a journey.
Awesome. Well, look, tell everyone one more time where they can find you. We'll wrap up, but I'd love to have you come on the show again quite a few more times, man. Like, thank you. This has been awesome.
Yeah, it's been great. So my website is Aaron Michael Pine, that's AARON MICHAELPYNE.com. And same thing on Instagram, Aaron Michael Pine, Facebook. And you can also go check out my secret new site, innerrealmsjourney.com. So there's just sort of a landing page there right now of the upcoming new mystical, magical, epic meditation adventure journey that's going to be coming out in a few months. So go take.
And he shared, like, I don't want to say anything, but it's going to be amazing. I'm super excited about it.
Yes, I can't wait for this to come out to the world.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. So guys, Aaron Pine, you guys follow him on the social media, check out his website, and I'm telling you, engage with them. This is one of these people that are here to really make some big things happen. And so any support you guys can offer him, I really appreciate it. I know he'll really appreciate it. And the universe appreciates it, man. We're rolling back in this new golden age.
And bringing in all of us. Yeah, full magic on, all cylinders.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes. Anything you want to leave everybody with?
To no matter where you're at, no matter what your level of understanding is, no matter your life situation, always come back to your heart. Find the pulse in your heart. Find the breath within the heart. Let that draw you back into unification of who you are. Let that draw you back home. Let that draw you back to the paradise that has always been within you. And let that be, as best as you can in any given moment, your GPS, your navigation to direct you forward in your life.
Oh, man. Beautiful. Beautifully said, man. Thank you so much, Aaron.
You're so welcome. Thank you, brother, for having me on.
Yeah. So guys, this is Halo Marquez and Aaron Pine with Alchemy 101 and Alchemy for Archetypes.
Yeah.
The Elven Wizard, the man himself. Thank you so much for being on the show. And
Yes.
we'll catch you guys next week. Love you guys.
All right. Blessings, everyone. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's been awesome. Thank you. And then let's see, how do we do this non-live thing? It's always tricky.